Hey everyone, Mike Rosehart here. Sorry I'm running late. I got the light kit set up. Took me a couple of minutes extra to get everything set up just by myself here today, doing the Wise Wealth Wednesday Real Estate and Fire live Q&A show. We do it every single Wednesday, and I realized I didn't have my mic on, so now I'm gonna plug it in. Hopefully you guys can hear me loud and clear. Let's get this thing hooked in. Welcome, welcome. Hey Tommy, how you doing? Hey Are we live? Are we good? Let's get this troubleshooting out of the way. Can people hear? Is it okay? Someone tell me they can hear me. Is that better? No? Put it lower. How's that? Perfect. Hey everyone, Mike Rosehart here, talking to you guys today about debt weapons. Hey Jared, how you doing? We're talking about how debt is good. Debt is a good thing. In fact, cheap debt is one of the most powerful weapons we as entrepreneurs have. And guys like Dave Ramsey, who, you know, they're great in the early retirement space, I guess he's more of the personal finance than the early retirement. But you know, in the FIRE movement, a lot of us talk about paying off our mortgages, right? Being debt-free, that's the goal, right? Everyone's like, oh, I'm after that debt-free lifestyle. When in reality, good, cheap debt is actually a really powerful thing that can have a great impact on your overall net worth and actually make you a wealthier person. Now, there are ways to mitigate the risks associated with debt, right? Like some debt can be bad, right? Consumer debt is terrible. Credit card debt, unsecured debt that's not tied, it's tied towards consumer purchases or tied towards, sorry if I'm a little bit off there, that's just that camera. And when you're tying it to things that don't appreciate in value, when you're tying it to things that aren't good assets, like a car, you know, a loan on a car, not a good debt. A loan on, you know, to buy something like a stereo or a computer or some piece of technology that's going to degrade in value and produce no cash flow. Those are not good uses of debt. But good uses of debt are when you borrow, for instance, you borrow to invest in businesses, in companies, in real estate. That's when using debt, cheap debt, you know, you can borrow at 3 and 4%. When you're borrowing cheaply at 3 and 4%, you're taking that capital and then investing it in things that produce, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20, 30, 50% rates of return, and you get to keep the spread. Hey Martin, how you doing? By the way, guys, we are now monetized. Actually, this is the 15th episode of Wise Wealth Wednesdays. We've done this 15 weeks now. I have not missed one. Every single week I've been throwing out the Wise Wealth Wednesdays for you. Even when I'm sick, even when I don't feel the best, I'm still coming on to deliver for you guys. So here I am. I want to see at least one super chat because I've never had a super chat before. It'd be so cool if someone shoots at a super chat, their question gets answered first, and in like the best detail possible. It'd be just so cool to do the super chat thing. Anyway, what were we saying? So I think the super chat is enabled. If it isn't, let me know. Maybe I'd have to go click something and turn it on back in the settings. I don't know. But I see YouTubers who are monetized who can do the super chats. It's so cool. Anyway, let's keep talking. Debt weapons and what I've been up to in the last week, because I always give you guys the option. Hey, how you doing? I always give people the option to talk about Vince, how you doing? Good to see you on. Bunch of great people, Battelle, Tommy, a lot of the regulars popping on. Awesome. Today it is smoking hot in my tiny house right now, in my studio. I have all the lights on and it's baking me. I wish I had air conditioning in the studio. I don't know if you guys know this. I did let you guys know briefly that I found the ultimate house hack. I found out how to basically buy the dream house, have my business partner move in, and then rent out a different portion of the house. It's 3,300 square feet. I'm gonna live there for free. We're gonna rent out, which is house hacking, portions of the house that we don't wanna use, and basically pay our mortgage, property taxes, and utilities. So I can live in a 3,300 square foot house, 2-car garage, and dominate 4 bedrooms for myself, my family, and our unit. And in a great area and do that for free, right? Like I'm living for less than most people renting a 1 bedroom, like just a bedroom in a house. I live for less than that. So that's the advantage of house hacking. And that's something I'm really excited about. On September 28th, I'm going through a huge move. We're going to move all our stuff out of here, which then brings me to the point that my place now, my tiny house studio and my 3-bedroom bungalow is for rent. If you guys know anyone in London, Ontario who is interested in renting it out, it's a pretty sweet space. Has an amazing fenced-in backyard, pie-shaped lot, pretty sweet, 3+1, and it's pretty competitively priced. So if you guys know anyone who's a really, really good qualified tenant, shoot them my way. Yeah, end of September, Jason. So if I can find someone, and hey, good to see you on. If I could find someone who wanted to take over and stay in my space, I'd be cool if someone wanted to house hack, if they want to take responsibility for that. I live a block and a half away, so if anyone wants to be close to me, this place, I'm probably going to keep it and rent it out. So hit me up if you're interested in that. What else is new in life? We've got another deal. This one working with an investor. They were able to we worked through a wholesaler to find this deal. And so it's really exciting to close that deal too. Emma, if you're on here, that one's gonna be a cool deal. I've just been swamped the last week and a half. Like I haven't been on acquisition mode. I've been on like operations and survival mode. You guys have seen a few videos from a few months ago. Remember the video where I was in the trenches of this property? We dug down into the basement trenches. Everything that could go wrong in this house has gone wrong, and so it delayed timelines. And the last week, so all the students are moving in on the first, all the tenants are moving in, and we had to get it done. And so I was literally there till 3 in the morning every single day. I would sleep for like 4 hours, and so I'm still what you call burnt out. I feel like I'm jet lagged right now constantly because of that last week. And so there's a lot of catch up I've been playing lately. If you guys know, if you have a lot of properties, and you guys know I've been buying a property a week. So for the last 13 weeks, last 12 weeks, we bought 13 properties. So more than one a week we've been acquiring. And my goal is by my birthday in November to have 26 properties we will have purchased since July 1st. So the goal is just to grow. And at that growth rate, when you have a high growth company and you don't have enough staff, it is extremely painful. Like growth is way more painful than maintenance. Like if you have 100 properties that are all rented out, that's not near as hard as having 10 properties you just acquired. In fact, I think it's harder. What we're doing right now is a lot harder. And we probably, between the two of us, my partner and I, we've got a little over 30 properties we're currently managing. And there's a lot of renovations going on, and these properties require a lot of attention in the beginning, because that's how my real estate strategy works, is that property, I don't buy 100% turnkey. I buy properties that have bad tenants or have delayed, maintenance issues. They have all of these problems that landlords didn't want. And so they'll pay me to take care of those problems effectively through the purchase price being much lower than, say, market value. And so I'll take those headaches on. And what happens is when you have a dozen properties and a dozen headaches at each one, you have 144 headaches. And when you have that many texts and messages coming in, it's just a lot to take on. And so a little bit about what I've been up to in the last week. It's crazy, like beyond what is healthy, busy. Hey Zale, how you doing? So I've just been so busy with that. We have been working to create better content. Really excited for some stuff that's coming up. You guys don't know about Dysite, but Dysite is basically it's like Time magazine in the US, but it's in Germany. It's the #1 newspaper in circulation in Germany. And they sent a reporter from Germany here, and she stayed with me. And she actually came out to London on Fire, and she met some of the people on the FIRE movement. The article is on the FIRE movement, and she actually interviewed Vicki Robbins, who was the first to write, I think, a book on early retirement. The book is called Your Money or Your Life. There's a free audio version on YouTube. Everyone should check that book out. It's one of the first gateway books that I got introduced to, and it was fantastic. Oh, a super chat! I just got my first super chat. Jared, you're always giving me my first. Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. Okay. I checked out the house that I mentioned in the last video. He wants to get rid of it. He has 4 students living there. House is valued at $500K. Help. Okay. We need to have a chat. I need more information about that. Maybe we should do like an offline kind of one-on-one thing. If you send me an Instagram, that'd be really, really cool. And I'll message you back. This last week I was crazy. I got your Facebook messages, Jared. I do want to respond, and I do have some strategies I think that can help you to get this private deal. Part of it is going to be working and trying to align things to the interest of the seller, right? So whatever, you got to find out what they're motivated by, right? And work in favor of that motivation. Use that to your advantage. So that's going to be a big piece of it. It's so cool. It's so cool, guys. I never had a super chat before. This is my very first one. What are we talking about? So I'm moving, building the business up. So much effort, so much energy going into that. I've been swamped. A lot of people have been sending me messages, and I've been trying my best to respond. What else is going on? My buddies, Matt McKeever and Jeff Weibo, are throwing out a big event November 10th and 11th, a real estate mastermind session. They basically rented an entire boutique hotel in Las Vegas, and they're putting on a big real estate mastermind session of like 60 people. It's going to be some intense heavy hitters at the event. I may be able to squeeze some time out. It's actually my birthday event. So that's sort of, if I can get the time away and go to the event. Thought I'd throw something out there for those people who are watching this now live, or those people who are watching on the replay. If you guys want to go to this mastermind event, I think it's like $1,300 Canadian, like $900 USD or something like that. If you guys want to go to this event, I am down to split a room with someone. If they will pay my ticket to go, I think it's like $1,000 or something, I will do one-on-one coaching with them all weekend. So they've got like unfettered access to me, whatever questions they want all weekend long. It's like the supreme coaching package. I don't like to do coaching because I'm just so busy. This is a cool event. You're getting exposed to like 60 of some of the best minds, I think, in real estate. And coming out of that event, there's going to be a lot, I think, that people are going to learn from that. So I'm really excited to go to that. If I get a chance to go, I'm still debating whether or not I'll go. But if someone wanted to share a hotel room with me and go, and I go with them, we went together and did this like coaching weekend, go to this super session in Vegas. Shoot me a DM on Instagram or hit me up on Messenger. That would be really cool. I'd like to do that. If I can do it like at the cost of coaching effectively, I just give all of my time away for the weekend. Or if I have to send, as part of that coaching program, if people want me to help them find a deal or there's some follow-up beyond that, right, where we do calls or whatever, I would do that to go to this event. That'd be really cool. So throw it out to the universe. If someone's watching this and they want to do the Vegas mastermind, hit me up on Instagram, hit me up on Messenger. I will go if I can get a coaching student to effectively cover my cost to go in return for me coaching. So I will give my time, I will coach and give my expertise and knowledge in return for my chance to go to that event. So throw it out to the universe. Other people are doing the same kind of thing. They're doing the coaching kind of mentorship program. And as a result, yeah, they're kind of getting to go to the event. So I'm throwing it out there, just throw it out there. Now we get some more questions coming up here. Okay, we're gonna go out all these first questions we got. When are you moving, Mike? End of September. Yes, so end of September, moving into the new house. Really excited for that. You guys are going to do, I want to give you guys a walkthrough. I've given one on YouTube before of the studio space that I'm in now, the tiny house loft. But I want to give you one of my house too before I leave. It's all boxes are everywhere, so it's not going to be pretty, but we will give you guys a tour because people want to see what the house hacking situation looks like. Because a lot of people think it's a life of deprivation, right? The tenants of fire are around super like deprived, no luxury, just like rice and beans. It's not about that, right? Like I live a really good lifestyle. I have a fantastic car, a Ford Focus. It's just great on fuel economy. The house we live in is fantastic. We have quartz counters, stainless appliances. It's open concept. I have a chef's pantry, all of that, and I live for free. Like my lower apartment pays my entire mortgage, so I live for free in a great situation. And part of my last video, if you guys saw the drop, where I did plug a video we did with Graham and Kevin, you guys have probably seen those videos before, where I got robbed. We got all that cash together. They didn't actually rob me, but for the entertainment of, hey Ellie, how you doing? For the entertainment of YouTube, for the audience, we did this staged robbery where I was robbed, and it gave me an idea. Well, what would happen if I actually started from nothing? And one of the strategies I would use would be rent hacking. I would rent a place out and get the rent to zero. So I'd rent a big place and then rent portions of like sublet or get roommates for portions of the house, and then use that to ensure that I basically live for free. What's this called? My wife wonders if those are real money. I mean, you probably have that much in cash. Jason, yes. In that video, it was real money. Yeah, so if you check out the last video I just dropped, there's links and cards in those videos to the interview I did with Graham Stephan, who just reached 200,000 subscribers. He's killing it, man. He's one of the top real estate investors. I'm proud to have him in my network and a friend, and seeing him grow from less than 100,000 subscribers now to well over 200. It's fantastic. I'm so proud of him, really. So we did a video, an interview, talking about how I retired at 25. And then Kevin, meet Kevin. You guys have checked his channel out. He's fantastic. I think Kevin's gonna have 1 million subscribers if he just stays on course. His content is really engaging, and I like his personality. He's great personality on YouTube too. Kevin also did a video where we did a pretending that they robbed me. It was kind of a cool cinematic thing. And I put the intro into the last video that we did. And yeah, so yeah, that was real cash. Yep, and I did not get robbed, and it was quite the experience to get all that from the bank and then put it all back into the bank. They asked a lot of funny questions, but it was all for YouTube video. So, okay. Oops. I just clicked something. There, back on the screen. Is it easy to rent student rentals later in the year? Example, if you buy a student rental during winter, is it easy to get it rented? I assume most students get a year lease near the end of the summer. So there are there are three sort of time periods you can catch the students. The main one that almost everyone in London, Ontario operates by is the May 1st moving, April 30th move out, right? So that May 1st window is you get the 1 year leases. That's the ideal. That's like the farm. So in January, you start your run and you start running the ads and all that, and you get them all rented by February. By March, you get some of the slackers. Depends if you're doing college or university. So the university students tend to be more proactive and a little bit, they tend to look a little earlier. The college students tend to be, like Fanshawe College, they tend to be a little bit more laid back, and they'll be looking, a month or so before. And so it depends on whether you're doing which type of students you're doing. So college students, university students, what area in the city. But May 1st is definitely, May 1st to May 1st is the timeline for both the students. You can, at Fanshawe and Western, there are people who start January 1st, the second semester, the winter semester. September 1st is another start point. So I lined up all my students starting September 1st. So most of them are on 8 or 12 month leases. So the 8-month leases, those guys will be out May 1st if they don't want to extend or continue. The 8-month lease people tend to be too cheap to pay for the summer. But ideally as a landlord, you want them on 12-month leases. You would like to see them on the May to May, so you don't have to worry about subletting it through the summer. What I'll do for the students who sign September to April 30th is I'll start in January renting it for May 1st. And we'll get it rented out. I'll get it back on the calendar of the year to year. And that's the ideal way to do it, is being on that year to year calendar. That's the best way to do it. But September 1st is always crazy because all the students come back, even if you've rented in say April, they'll come back in say, they'll be gone for the summer to their parents' house or wherever they're traveling in Europe, and they'll come back in September. And that's when they always have the problems, right? Like, oh, the dishwasher doesn't work. Oh, we broke this. Oh, the light bulb doesn't work. Can I get a new key for this? And so my phone, I'll have like 50 students, and they'll all be messaging me with like problems and just dispatching those problems. Each one of those takes like 10 or 15 minutes to call a trades guy. He calls, he can't get in. The student isn't there when they said they were going to be, so no one's there. So I have to drive there and give them a key and let them in. And so it's just a whole bunch of I was literally just running with my head cut off, like a chicken with its head cut off, just running around for like 2 minutes. It was like that for the last 72 hours. And I'm still just catching up. One of my properties doesn't have central air conditioning, and I like that because it keeps my utility bills low. But these students are awesome, and so I really want to give it to them. So we're putting in central air tomorrow, and I think it's going to help the resale value about what I'm spending on it because I'm getting a good deal on it. So yeah, that's what's been good the last week or so. I'm talking about student rentals. I'm so tired of student rentals right now, but now once things are situated, like once everyone's in by mid-September, end of September, it's just smooth again. So it's at a point where then like the calls stop. I don't worry about like vacancy. Everything's rented. It's all good. If you miss the boat though, Tommy, you're talking about missing that window. If I bought a property right now that closed September 30th, I would be screwed to get it rented until probably at the best January 1st. But if you want a primo rent, you got to go for May 1st. So you're going to have quite a bit of vacancy. And that's when you can get deals actually in London. The landlords that suck at advertising or don't know how to take advantage of Kijiji and take good pictures, and there's so many, they're just lazy, that just don't do that. And so those guys, all of those landlords, they're the ones who have the vacancy. And so by October, November, we have our low season in London. So statistically speaking, if you look at the data, between November and December, house prices drop 11% each and every year from the high of the spring. And so that's when the deals are the strongest, actually. Seasonally speaking, no one wants to move in November, December. So you're not going to have a ton of people who are actively searching. There's less activity. Usually there's a bit less listings too, but because demand is so much lower, you can get those deals. So stuff sits in the market longer, prices go down, like I say, 10%. And those landlords who missed the boat, they may put some guys in there by the room or whatever because they couldn't find students, they're hurting. And they start to hurt in October, November, December. Heating bills start. Their vacancies, they've been bleeding now since September 1st because they've been vacant or whatever. That's when you can get a good deal. And no one else is hunting. Like everyone's hunting for a student rental. The parents come down from Toronto, from Ottawa, from Vancouver. They come when their kids go to Western University. All the internationals, they come a couple months before the May 1st deadline. So you get a rush of people in the spring. How you doing? I just saw it pop up. That was a quick and easy one. And I just saw some stuff from Kurt and a few other people pop up. I'm going to hit those questions up in just a sec here. So talking about the student calendar and the rental calendar and when it's good to buy real estate. And it's actually the best to buy real estate just before, I'd say, the second week of January, things start to pick up again in the student towns. So, hey, Michael Chung, how you doing? It's one of those things where, I think that the best way to get a good deal is to buy when no one else is buying, right? You want to do what no one else is doing so that you can live like no one else is living, right? And that's sort of been always my strategy and always my mentality, right? No one else is saving. The average person is saving 4% of what they earn. So I'm over here saving like 90% of what I'm earning, like the inverse. No one else wants to work on the evenings and weekends. I'm out there hustling evenings and weekends. No one else is out there taking good photos of their listings and making nice, good listings and refreshing those listings often and taking the time to provide that superior service for the tenant. Go pick a tenant up and drive them to the listing, right? If they're a student, go pick the group up and drive them there. And if a student wants a flat screen TV on the wall, you spend $100 and you go on Kijiji and you grab one, you mount it on the wall. You get an extra $100 a month now. So your ROI on that TV, that flat screen TV, is huge. Doing those little things that most landlords won't. A tenant's like, I need a bed. Some landlord would say, nah, I'm not going to do it. So then you lose the whole group that would be willing to pay an extra, say, $200 a month for the unit. And now if you just supply a bed, you go get a bed somewhere for a couple $100, boom, you might land a solid tenant. And I don't like to supply furniture, but I'm giving an example of things that landlords will do, things that I do to kind of provide that better level of service and get that higher rent. That's the reason why I talk to property managers here in London that are renting single-family houses for $1,195 a month, like $1,150 a month plus utilities. I go and rent that exact same house for $1,700 plus utilities. And my partner Wei is all over that, man. He's getting like, when people can't even believe you're getting $750 for a bedroom or $650 for a bedroom, or we're renting 2-bedroom apartments for like $1,300, and I see listings on there for $800, and we're getting $1,300 because we're providing that better level of service, that better quality of rental unit. And so there's quite a band range. Like, people think a 1-bedroom rents for like $750. No, it's not static like that. It's a range. Like a 1-bedroom in London, depending on the area and the style of the property and many factors that tenants are looking for, like dishwasher, in-unit laundry, parking, all of these small factors that are actually really big in the decision-making process for a tenant. If you look at that data, right, and you look at the range, a 1-bedroom might rent anywhere from from $550 all the way to like $1,300. And so how is that range so huge, right? And how do you get on the top end of that range? What are some things you have to do? And so that's what we've been exploring and trying to exploit to the maximum, is how do you get the most rents? And so sometimes our expenses are a little bit higher in that we have to provide things like in-unit laundry, all-inclusive utilities sometimes. Certain things we'll have to add, maybe put a flat screen TV on the wall. Small things have big impacts. And that's where I focus the most effort on, is those small areas where you can spend a couple $100 on, like the difference between white and black and stainless steel appliances. We're talking $200, but everyone knows I have a fetish for stainless steel. I don't like black or white appliances. I like my stainless steel appliances, especially my higher end units where it makes a lot of sense. That stainless steel, that pop on that picture, that gets me an extra $100 a month in rent. So when I'm looking at a used fridge for $200 or a used stainless fridge for $300, I'm gonna spend that extra $100. You can damn well guarantee I'm gonna do that, because I'm gonna get an extra $50 a month in rent, and I know I can do that. So there's certain areas where I know I can get more. When I design my units, when I build them, I try to make the flow of the unit so that I can get a little bit more rent, and I know what the tenant's looking for. And so it's a business, right? As a landlord, it's not about what you think. Like, if you like the color purple, you gotta think, what do other people like? People probably don't like the color purple. You want a neutral, like a nice modern gray tone. That's like I almost always go with the modern gray tones. I love them. They stage really well. It's neutral. Most tenants like it. It feels modern. Those types of finishes and touches, I think, are like the little things you can do to ensure you up your game. Because at the end of the day, your tenant is your customer. And we're running a business in real estate. A lot of people get personal about it. They make friends with their tenants. Not a good idea. Like, it's strictly a business. There's no reason you can't develop a relationship. Like, I'll deliver a gift basket when a tenant moves in. I'll go to the dollar store and I'll get these cool little baskets for $1. And I'll put in like soaps and cleaning materials and maybe even like some cool little like gizmo and gadget things, like a housewarming. And it cost me $7 to make this little basket. But when I leave that on the countertop on the brand new like island I just put in, and by the way, I'm all about the IKEA countertops, guys. Like $80 for an IKEA countertop. Big shout out if Kellen watches this. He was the guy who got me on the IKEA countertops, and I've now like put it in like 4 kitchens, and it's fantastic. It's cheap. I was doing quartz before, and I love quartz. Big fan of the quartz. I got a guy who gets it really, really cheap. I can do a whole kitchen for like $1,500, $1,400 for quartz counters, like 1-inch thick, undermount sinks. Great guy. Shout out to Quality Granite and Quartz. I don't want to give away his number because I got to use him. But The IKEA countertops are fantastic. You can butt them up together. They looks like real, quartz or marble from far away. Beautiful. And I get a kitchen done for like $200 for the material. And they're easy to install. Gives you that high-end look. Home Depot is like $400 or $500. I actually hate Home Depot. I almost never go to Home Depot. They are the most overpriced for almost everything. I like Rona and Lowe's a lot better than Home Depot. Co-ops even for getting like certain like mudding supplies and stuff like that. But I just avoid Home Depot like the plague. I've never found good prices on really anything. Even their sales stuff like vinyl plank, not great. Their selection's fine at Home Depot, and if I'm in a pinch, I'll go to Home Depot, but not a big fan of Home Depot. Their countertops like $300-$400 to get a nice kitchen and island done. I can do it from IKEA for like $150-$200, so it's like half price, and it looks 3 times as good. So anyway, I get on a tangent. You guys probably like the tangents. I hear the feedback is a lot when I meet in person with people. A lot of people are saying to me they love when I get on the tangents, so I'm just letting it go. We've had 26 people on this stream, and I only have 4 likes. So if you're watching this right now and you haven't shared this on social media and you haven't smashed that like button right now and you don't have that notification bell on for my channel, I'm gonna slap you. No, seriously, please do that. I'd really appreciate it. Let's see some questions up. Okay. I saw something pop up, but I'm now scrolling, so I have to go back up. Oh, I just see that super chat there. That's so cool. Someone gave me $6.99. Thank you, Jared. I appreciate that. Okay. Go up. We hit that question there. That was a good one. Got me going. I would so go with you. Sounds like a wicked deal. Jared, we should talk about that offline. Maybe we should go. Maybe out of that, you have time, right? I'm pretty sure like you either have Matt and Jeff are talking about, specifically Matt, I've heard talk about, you have to go to this event with something to give. And so if you don't have money, or you don't have deals, or you don't have something you're trying to sell, you guaranteed have time. And there are a lot of people there who have money and have deals but have no time. So if you have expertise and time, I guarantee you coming into that event, if you're offering time to someone, there's going to be deals coming up. There's going to be business ventures that happen in this. It's going to be like they're trying to create like this cult, like almost like a dorm in university. These 60 of us in this hotel, all real estate masterminds, really cool opportunities. So that would be a really cool coaching sort of opportunity. And we could go together. We could fly to London, go together, and you get pretty much unlimited access to me for like 3 days. Any questions you want, access to everything. I'll show you under the hood, guys. I have some really cool videos I want to release pretty soon. I finished 3 rentals. You guys remember the 3 rentals I did before? I was in the trenches where we dig the foundation of this property, the lights, we redid the electrical panel, everything was gutted to the studs. This house is done and it got appraised today. And I get a check for 55 grand from the lender, tax free, because I did a flip to myself. So when you flip to yourself, you pay no tax because you still own the asset. You pull all of the cash out and the equity's been created. You have this gain that you don't pay any capital gains tax on until you sell that asset. You keep cash flowing that rental income. So just got a refi on that. Really excited for that to hit the bank account. It's always cool when you get your money back and you make a little bit. So that project's done. We've got the student rental, $100,000 profit project is done now. Dan Warren, the Fanshawe Rental King, he's my JV partner on that. We're gonna do a video on that. It's gonna be really, really cool. I have the footage done already for that. Pretty soon, we don't have any, I think I haven't released one video yet with the new camera. We have 3 cameras, and the newest of them is so cool. It's some solid piece of glass, and the dual pixel, like the autofocus is like snappy as hell. Can't wait to get some good footage with that. When we get the sensor set to 1080p, because we accidentally had it set to, I think, 480p. So we'll get that fixed up, and I'm really excited for that. Get the audio going too. We're adjusting the audio all the time. We're gonna order some new audio stuff and adjust the settings to get it just right. We've been troubleshooting and having fun. Big shout out to Harks Creative. Check him out. He's having a lot of fun too, learning and experimenting, and we're both just growing and learning and sharing through this experience. So what was I saying now? Lost my train of thought. I'm gonna go back to the questions because I lost my train of thought. Okay, I have one investment property. Don Davies, how you doing? Good to see you on. I spent most of my money for the down payment and the rent notes to it. How do I acquire my second investment property? Okay, Don, I don't know your situation, so it'd be great if you typed in if you have a full-time job right now. Do you have an okay credit score? If you have those things, and I'm gonna assume that you do have those things, you have a full-time job, you have a way to qualify for a mortgage again. What I would say is let's get you a refinance. So hopefully you did like a 1 or 2 year fixed, in which case like when it renews, that's a great time. Like when that term comes up and you renegotiate, that's a great time to move lenders or have the lender fight to keep you. So you get better rates, and then you bring an appraiser back out to the property. And the idea is if you did it right, fantastic, Don. Full-time job, good credit, like You should have 5 properties right now. Like, why are we not burring with you right now? Why don't we have you at 5 properties the next year? We should. Okay, so let's workshop this for a second. So you've got 1 property right now. You've built up some considerable equity. I don't know the numbers on it. Maybe you could share some of those numbers for the audience. If you're willing to do that live right now, that'd be really cool. Like what you bought it for, what you spent in renovation, what you think it's worth now. Maybe you don't have the fundamentals of appraisal under the brain yet. You're not sure what it's worth, but the model, the ideal model with the burr or the flip to yourself model where you pay no tax and you pull the cash out, which is it's the best model. It's how I built so much wealth so quickly because I didn't have to pay cash. I wasn't selling the properties. I was keeping them and pulling the capital out to buy the next one. So you have property 1. Don's got a property. Sorry, some texts are coming in here. Moving those texts. Hopefully it didn't freeze the video when those texts came in. The contractors just messaging me. What were we talking about? Don. So Don's got a property, and Don said, so let's say you bought this property for $200,000. Hypothetical. Just throw out numbers. If you're not comfortable sharing, that's okay. So $200,000 you bought the property for, let's say, and you spent $25,000 renovating it. This is like the model I like to use. So $225,000. And let's say often what you'll find is that you'll get it. So you do the burr model where you buy it, you renovate it. Okay, so you bought it for $500,000. You put $35,000 in renos. It's worth about $600,000. So the idea would be to buy something for like $450,000. Like a perfect candidate for the burr flip to yourself model is something like a $450,000 house. They'll spend, maybe like you said, about $35,000-$40,000 on renovating, and then you get a refi at like $590,000, $600,000. And what you can do is you can pull 80% loan to value out of the property. So I don't know what your current mortgage is when you bought it. Did you do a purchase plus improvements on it? Did you get a purchase plus improvements mortgage where you give them a quote? You can do up to 20% of the purchase price back within 90 to 120 days if you fulfill the list of items that you said you're going to do, and you give them invoices. So what I'll do is you could hypothetically get an invoice. There's 2 ways to do it. So there's purchase plus improvements, then there's the standard refi. If you didn't do purchase plus improvements mortgage, you can do the standard refi mortgage too, and that works just as well. Okay, so Don, you didn't do that. So you guys heard, if you check out, I think episode 14 or 13 of Wise Wealth Wednesdays, which would be last week or the week before that. This is episode 15. You can see I talked about the purchase plus improvements mortgage, and I talked about that in the creative financing video that I did. So that one's a really good one. So Don didn't do that, and that's fine. Most people don't do the purchase plus improvements. They don't even know it exists. They didn't know they could pull their money out within 60 and 90 days with this quote and mortgage refi pullout. So honestly, they both work, and it depends on the situation. So the nice thing about the purchase plus improvements is that you get a guaranteed amount. So say on a $500,000 house at 20%, you're looking at $100,000 back. So you spend 35, you get 100 back right there. If you got to fudge with the quotes a little bit, get a contractor who's willing to give you those kinds of quotes at that price. You got to find a really high contractor and do a lot of the work yourself to get that to really work. But that's one way to get a guaranteed amount of money. With the appraisal method, you have to go you keep trying to get appraisals until you get a good appraisal that is at market value, because appraisers always want to err on the caution side. They always want to aim low. They always want to protect the interest of the bank in a fire sale opportunity. They want to go with the lowest possible purchase price. So they'll never give you market value. They'll always give you a little bit less, unfortunately, unless you get lucky and you get a good appraiser, or you've watched some of my videos like how to get a rock star appraisal, where I talk about some techniques that I use to get that little bit more juice, that little bit higher appraisal to get a little bit more money out. So the purchase plus improvements is a guaranteed amount of cash. So if you can get a purchase plus improvements for 20% and you spend 10% of the purchase price, you get 10% back for free on the mortgage at like your mortgage rate, which could be like 2.99. So you're getting all that money back, and there's no breakout fees. You don't have to remove the first mortgage and put a new one on. The other way, so Don, we're workshopping your idea, right? You've got this house, you want to buy more properties. You bought it for 500, you're in it for 35 in renovation. I don't know what you bought it for. Do you have an 80% loan to value mortgage on it? So your mortgage on that property is like $400,000 right now. Is that about right? Maybe less? Shoot it in the comments. So the idea is that you go get it appraised, right? And we'll look at some of my videos on how to get a good appraisal, but get a good appraisal on the property, and we'll talk about how you do that. But you get a really good appraisal on the property, and you bring that back to said lender, and you say, I'd like to get a mortgage 80% loan to value, please. You go to a few lenders actually, because then you get a few different appraisals, and it's free, right? The lender doesn't make you pay for the appraisal. Usually they comp it anyway, but if you don't get the mortgage with them, they don't charge you for the appraisal. So you can get like 3 appraisals done from 3 different lenders, and whichever lender gives you the best appraisal, that's the lender you go with. So 410 left on the property. Perfect. So you've got, if you get an appraisal at 600, right? 80% loan to value. What is that? That's 480,000 with a mortgage they would toss on that bad boy at 80% loan to value. So you're sitting on, what'd you say, 410. So you're sitting on $70,000. You have 170,000 in equity. You'd have, I guess, 190,000 in equity with said appraisal at 600. But you can tap into 70,000 of that right now with a refi on that. And the most it's going to cost you to remove, so there's a mortgage on it in first secured position right now, probably by your lender. You're going to put a new first secured from the same lender. They'll remove it. They'll put the new mortgage on. So the new mortgage is going to be 80% loan to value on 600. So you're going to put a mortgage on for, what did I say? I guess that would be, 80,000 for every 100, right? 8 times 6 is 480. So it'd be 480,000. Sorry, I'm really foggy, really tired. I've been working really hard, guys. My math is usually really quick in my head. I can usually calculate how much the mortgage is going to be. But today I'm a bit foggy. So 480,000 is going to be the new mortgage. And you get 410 with your existing mortgage-ish. So when they pay off, they got to pay off your first mortgage, release it off title, put this new one on for 480. When they pay the other one out, there's going to be a $70,000 difference. They're going to write you a check to your lawyer for $70,000. So you're going to get a check for $70,000 just by refinancing the property and putting a new mortgage on it. That's the BRRRR method. You probably weren't going into this with the BRRRR in mind. So ideally, we'd find the right property for a BRRRR. Like I've done one before that I bought for 200 that resold at 435, and I spent maybe 60,000 on the rental. So I was in it for 260 and a 435 appraisal. So there's so much juice there that I could buy two with my refi out of it. So I take one and I end up with 3 rentals, and then 3 becomes like 6 and 9. So you can grow really quick with this model, barring the fact that now it's getting really hard to get past 5 mortgages today in the environment today. I still have ways to get people to 10 mortgages. I have connections with some of my investors to get more mortgages. Jason, we should talk about how to get a mortgage on the JV we're doing so we can buy you more, right? That was a strategy. You bought the first one in cash. We're going to go from there and refinance. So we can workshop that offline. So Don, you've got $70,000 sitting there right now. What does $70,000 buy you, right? Let's do the math on that. What can that buy you? About a $350,000 house? Does that sound about right? So you can buy, that's a good triplex here in London. That's $1,000 a month in cash flow. You should definitely pull that money out and buy a second one. But on the second one, be really smart about what you buy. Buy a triplex for like $250, spend 30 or 40 renovating it, and then get a good refi, juice it out, and then so from the second one, you have enough for the third, and the third to the fourth. And if you get lucky, or a little bit of luck, but a lot of skill, and you find the right deal and things work out just right, you can get one that turns into 2. And that's when it gets juicy. And once you have 4 or 5, each cash flowing $600-700 a month, all of a sudden now you're saving a down payment every 8 months just from the 5, right? They're just like cash flowing each and every month into an account. And I reinvest everything in real estate. I don't take any money out for myself. I like to let everything ride. So all my properties go into JV accounts and I build up equity. And then my JV partner and I have built up enough for another down payment. We go buy another property. And so I don't withdraw from my real estate portfolio. Each person does their own thing, but I'm big into like hardcore saving, right? So I don't spend any of the growth. I just reinvest and build. And that's how you build a really friggin' huge portfolio really quickly. The flip to yourself. You pay no tax. You access all of that capital. So your property you bought for 500 is now worth 600. You should have theoretically $100,000 capital gain, which means that top marginal bracket, half inclusion rate, you'll have 50,000 of that will be included, right? And a 50% rate of return, you're gonna pay $25,000 in tax if you were to sell that property and get the cash out. But with the BRRRR strategy, you save that $25,000 in tax. You don't pay that liability till way down the road when it doesn't even matter because you're gonna be so wealthy and you have such a huge portfolio that you don't care. You only pay when you sell. So Don, we just workshopped that. We should get you a refi. We should figure out how to get you a good appraisal on this property and get you to pull some money out. It's as simple as that. That's how you get number 2. And then we'll get you on the plan where you're buying, where you're really learning how to flip to yourself. And the key is in the deal, right? And in the renovation. So finding out how to do this renovation as cost effectively as possible, below market renovation costs, and below market on the deal as well. So that's the strategy. That's the flip to yourself. That's the way that I was able to get to 10 properties in under 3 years. Now I think I was adding up, I've purchased over 30 properties. That is insane. Like with investors and stuff like that included, all that. But over 30 properties, it's getting there. Like if I keep with this rate, I'm gonna have over 100 properties purchased at a certain point. And I'm 25 years old. If I can do it, and I came from nothing. Like my mom works a minimum wage job at a call center, single mom. Like it's not like I came from wealth or anything or had this, thrust upon me. I just learned by networking and going to events like this mastermind. My phone keeps ringing. Contractors continue. I just lost a bunch of live streamers. Sorry guys. Contractors keep calling my phone and there's no way to block out I have D&D on, and it still friggin' rings when I'm on the live stream. I don't know why it does that. If anyone in the comments knows how to turn off phone calls, I have D&D on, I have it all. I don't announce calls, all of that. Still seems to keep ringing through. Don't know why. But what were we talking about? We were talking about... I lost my train of thought, guys. Let's go to the next question. Mike's lost his train of thought. Talking about, I think, refis and stuff like that. Nicholas, how you doing? Hey, Mike, any individual stocks you're keeping an eye on at the moment? Nicholas, yeah, I'll give you guys a tip. SNS. Big fans, trading on the venture right now. I'm not going to say buy it, but Select Sands is really underpriced right now. I currently hold a position in it, so I'm biased, but SNS on the Toronto Stock Exchange, on the venture, Select Sands, they are solid. We could talk about that offline, but I think they've been beat up about 40% in the last day or so, day or two, and I'm still holding. So I'm probably double down because I think there's an opportunity there. If you're talking about stocks, that's a stock that I trade in. So don't sue me. This is not a recommendation. It's just a stock that I'm interested in. I've been keeping an eye on it. I like Select Sands. Cool. I also like some utility companies. There's some solid utility plays right now that I've been following that pay solid 8-9% dividend rates too. So that's kind of cool. So Dawn, I saw your question there. We workshopped that. That was cool. If you have value from that, let me know in the comments. I would love to know if that was valuable for you. If you had any follow-up questions, that'd be cool. Currently and recently just purchased a triplex. The last landlord pay utilities and hydro. Property has 3 separate hydro meters. Should I, or when can I, have the tenants pay their own utilities? So Daryl Zuber, it depends. If the lease is signed, the tenant has a certain agreement with the previous landlord. You have to then, the tenant acknowledgements will be signed on closing, and likely you have to assume all of the previous agreements the landlord had with that tenant. So if the tenant had all-inclusive rents, you can't just make them start paying utilities unless you get them to agree to do that, which I don't think a tenant would ever agree to pay more. But maybe you could talk them into it. Maybe they would agree to it. If they have air conditioner units and stuff like that, sometimes you can charge them $50 a month to plug in an air conditioner or a heater. You can charge them extra for those things. If they're plugging them in and there's already heat in the building. Central air, like if it doesn't have central air and they put it in a window shaker, you can charge them for that. Even if they're month to month, Daryl, the challenge is that you can't just increase their rent. Effectively, if you made them pay utilities, you'd be increasing their rent. You could say, hey, I'll drop your rent $30 a month if you start paying hydro. And they may agree to that, but they have to agree to it. That's the challenge. So the best way to do it is to get tenants out. I've seen a couple properties in London here where there was like an all-inclusive $300 a month. And this person had baseboard electric heating, and that unit had $310 a month in hydro. The landlord literally was getting $300 a month in rent because the tenant had been there for 20 years. And the hydro bill now, because hydro bills have gone up like crazy in Ontario, was like $300 a month. They were actually losing money. I'm not even talking about the mortgage. I'm not talking about property taxes, just on utilities. The rent didn't even cover the utilities. This landlord was begging to get rid of this property because there was no way to evict this tenant. There are ways to evict these tenants, but it's very difficult. And you have to use some unorthodox techniques. You might have to move someone else in the unit beside them and play some loud music. And there are ways to get them out that are not the most ethical way, but there are also ethical ways to get them out. Have a conversation with them. But yeah, some of this kind of stuff happens with these rent control where I've seen it, where tenants are getting the friggin' best deal of their life. They would never want to leave because they're literally living there for free. One option is you could renovate it. You could take the baseboard heating out and put in like a forced air, and that would, save it a little bit. There are things you can do, but the best case scenario is to get the tenants out. I don't like to inherit tenants ever. I try to cycle through all the tenants that I inherit. I try to get rid of them. That's always my strategy. I've never had a good tenant that I've inherited. Yeah, no, never. I've never bought a property that I can think of. Oh no, one property I can think of. I had I had some really good students, and I had a really good guy in the basement of one property that I bought who stayed with me for 2 years. He ended up leaving. His rent was low, but he never called me. He fixed everything himself. He was the best tenant that I can think of that I've ever inherited. But every other tenant that I've inherited, and all other like 20 properties, all bad. Max, how you doing? Catch the replay, whatever you missed. We had some really solid nuggets in there. I think some of it will pertain to exactly what you're thinking about working with. Yeah, it's one of those things where you really do have to get rid of those tenants. That's the only way, honestly, to get them on the paying their own utilities. I don't know why landlords do all inclusive. Students don't like to pay utilities, so I often, even if my properties are separately metered, I will pay the utilities. You can sometimes, like, it's weird. I had a basement apartment where it's separately metered, and I could charge them hydro. The water was shared for the whole place, so you can't charge them water. It's hard to divide that out. There's no real meter. But Daryl, to get to your question there, we're talking about, the hydro, and the gas meter was one for the whole house, triplex, one furnace. So the hydro is the only thing you could charge. And market rent right now in my market was $9.95 plus hydro. But instead, and actually I'm talking about our property, Jason, instead we're getting $1,200, I think, or $1,250 inclusive. So I guarantee you their personal hydro usage is like $50, $75 for that unit. And the market dictates that plus utilities is $9.95, $1,000 a month, and inclusive is $1,200 for this type of unit. So it's just one of those weird things where sometimes there's an arbitrage opportunity in the market, and inclusive to plus utilities, it just isn't working out. Like the math just makes no sense. And so as a landlord, you may choose sometimes, even though you're separately metered, and you have the option, you may choose to pay the utilities and offer the tenant and get more rent. So I've done both. The nice thing is you don't have to worry about them not paying the hydro, because if a tenant doesn't pay the utilities, it can fall back on you as the landlord when it goes back into your name if they just bail and don't pay them. So that's one of the risks of having the tenant pay utilities. But I have a lot of properties where the tenants pay utilities, and it's good. Yeah, $1,200 inclusive is great, right? Like we could have got a little bit more, but we had that trouble of the middle floor tenant has two dogs, and one's like a massive dog. And every time we walk down the side entrance to go down to the separate entrance to the basement, the dogs are like rah, 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 bang bang against the door, like going crazy. And all the tenants jump back. Like it's hard to rent a unit when you have a really bad tenant making the building sour. So the idea is to get rid of a tenant like that. Get out. So even if you have to pay the tenant off, there are strategies you can use to get rid of the tenants. We're going to be working to get rid of the tenants in this property. It's top of mind right now. So yeah, there are a lot of strategies to make money in real estate, and sometimes you have to fire your bad customers too. Like if I had an investor that called me like literally every minute of every day for updates, right? Like we're talking like 2 hours a day. That's like a customer that calls you and annoys you, and they're like 2% of your profit, but they're using 80% of your resources. It's like the 80-20 rule. You want to get rid of that. Same with the tenant. If the tenant's calling you all the time, causing problems and whatever, and you don't want that tenant. They're not giving you enough profit. Find a way to get rid of the tenant. It's harder to fire a customer. Or it's easier to fire a customer, harder to fire a tenant. But Armin, I'll give you an example in a second here when I answer some more questions up here higher. Exactly about what some of my properties are. It just depends on the property. And I'll give you some examples if you want of what the utilities look like. So Kurt, hi Mike, great channel. Found out about you on the On Fire podcast. You're a great inspiration to us. My question is, how would one get started in real estate in a more pricey market where it's hard to cash flow? Kurt, great question. It's hard to enter into one of those markets. You can do things like the 5% purchase price in, say, like Toronto or Vancouver with the CMHC private mortgage insurance. I'm not a big fan of private mortgage insurance. They rape you in Canada with the fees. So that's something that kind of weighs down on things a bit. If you have to go that way, but I'd rather borrow the money. It's cheaper to borrow the money. You guys know I've done videos where you can borrow like 15% interest, and it's cheaper than taking the CMHC private mortgage insurance. So anyway, I'm not a big fan of the private mortgage insurance. Get it if you have to get the deal, but they're gonna destroy you like 3-4% of the purchase price right in fees right up front. So if you sell next year, you're paying like an insane amount of fees. Like we're talking on a $500,000 house, we're talking like $20,000 in fees to the insurance. Private mortgage insurance, CMHC. So anyway, that's a tangent for another day. People do the deals with CMHC and the deal gets done, you still make money, it's okay. But if you can choose between doing it and not doing it, don't do it. If you can choose between borrowing money from someone and doing that, borrow money from someone. So what was the question? I lost my train of thought. We were talking about answer that question. We're talking about catching the live. Did I miss this question here? No, I did that question. What were we talking about a second ago? I just lost my train of thought. We're talking about like investing in Toronto. Oh, right. I probably could scroll up and find that question if I really scroll up, but we're talking about investing in Toronto and Vancouver. Sorry guys, I'm really foggy. I got this sinus cold. Haven't been sleeping a lot lately. In those markets, I just don't invest. Like, you'd have to be really attractive to be able to invest in Toronto. People bring me deals in Toronto. They call me, they say, Mike, I've got a deal in Toronto. It's $1 million property, worth 1.1, $100,000 discount. And I'm like, no, like I have no interest in driving in Toronto. The cash flow doesn't work. People call me and say, I got a property in Vancouver. I don't even want it. Like I don't believe long-term in the fundamentals of Toronto and Vancouver because there is no cash flow, and I buy for cash flow. So in those markets, I would say it's very capital intensive and the returns on investment are not that good. And I think Toronto and Vancouver are going to a bit of a recession coming up in the next little bit. So, if you live in Toronto, then it could make sense to invest if you're going to house hack the situation. Or if you could there's some student rentals in Toronto. I know some guys who do student rentals in Toronto and they get primo rents, like almost like $900,000 a bedroom. Those guys somehow, they have so many bedrooms in these places, they somehow cash flow. Or the Airbnb people, they kill it still. Not as well as we kill it here in London. Like we get 3% rural properties, but they still do really, really well in Toronto with the Airbnb market. So if you're going to get into it, that's one way to do it. But it's so expensive to get started that I think that, maybe joint venturing or partnering with someone might be a great way to get involved. If you have the energy to manage the property, maybe you find someone and you can get a mortgage, or maybe you can't. You partner with someone who can, even if they take 10% of the deal to give you a mortgage, to sign their name and their income to get the mortgage qualified and approved. Maybe they have the capital and you borrow it, right, to put the deal together. I'm a big fan of real estate investment trusts, so REITs, publicly traded REITs, or MICs, private mortgage corporations, mortgage investment corporations. Those are great too. You can get like 10%, 12% rates of return, and you don't have to actually physically manage anything or own any real estate. So that's a great way to get invested in real estate, get some returns in real estate. But I'm a big fan of investing outside of Toronto. Cities like London are fantastic. Windsor's not bad. Sarnia, again, a good market. There are a lot of little outlier markets around Toronto that are overall great cash flow opportunities. So it's only an hour and a half away to London. So you can invest in places like here where you get better cash flow. That have good long-term prospect, I think. London's one of the hottest markets in Canada right now, actually. Toronto's getting beat up. Vancouver's getting beat up. A lot of markets are feeling a bit of the crunch, but London's just like soaring. It's growing like crazy. It's actually bad to find deals. It's getting hard to find good deals. That doesn't mean that I have to lower my quality. I still keep my quality at a certain bar. We're still buying properties like Jason knows, we bought a property for 227 grand as an example, and it's a triplex, a legal triplex. And the market rents on this thing should be like, I think we probably get about $3,800, almost $4,000 a month, and we bought it for $227,000. Doesn't even need that much renovation. I'm talking, 15 or 20,000 in renovation max. Like that's to make everything mint on the house. So that's 2% rule. Like at that kind of rate of return, you get your down payment back in a few years. Forget appreciation. And at $400,000 a month in rent, that property is worth $350,000. So yeah, I'm still finding deals. We're locking them up. Like they're closing, like in the last couple of weeks, I'm closing on deals. Like a house I just bought in London for 125 grand. It's better than most of the deals I'm seeing in Windsor. And I just rented it for $16.95, I think, plus utilities we rented it out for. So we're snagging the deals up here. There are deals in every market. Like there are guys in Toronto who kill it. There are guys who get $1 million houses for $700 and they're still making money because they're buying so far below market value. But if you're buying based on appreciation or speculation, I'm not a fan of Toronto or Vancouver. A deal is a deal is a deal. So if you got a property that's 30% below market value in whatever market, even if it's in New York, go for it, right? Find a way to put it together. If you got a property that's private, off market, whatever, that's worth $300,000 more than you're buying it for, on day one, you got a huge amount of insulation against things like market recession or the fact that you're not getting cash flow at the same rate that you would in a different outlier market like London or Windsor or et cetera, Sarnia. I grew up in Sarnia, so big fan. It's another hour. It's 55 minutes from London. So there's some pretty solid numbers there too because they have the Chemical Valley. It's the armpit of Ontario. Okay, let's set some more questions up, guys. It's getting hot in here. These lights behind me are like cooking me. Okay. Hey, how's it going? Amy, saw you there. Michael. We're going to have Tommy's question. When do you think, when you do then, if you're getting great deals in October, November, are you just taking a bit of a hit in terms of vacancy and justifying it based on discount on the property? Tommy, depends on the strategy. So sometimes the properties I'm buying need quite a bit of renovation, and that can take 60 days. So those properties are getting beat up. Often I'll get in there in October and I'll renovate them and we'll rent them out, right, come January or February. So I'll buy them with enough lead time to get the renovation done and I'll sync up to the calendar. And there's a bit of carrying costs associated with the renovation wherein Maybe it's a duplex and I'll put a family in the lower unit on an 8-month lease that expires, or like a young professional, right? Like someone working downtown. I'll put them in, they're not a student, but I'll put them in on an 8-month lease or something. And then I'll sync them up to the May to May calendar the following year, right? And so there are ways to combat buying at that time. You can still fill the vacancies, you just won't get max rent. So you may take a little bit of discount in the rent that you're getting, or you might just say, hey, I'm getting this for such a deal. That's okay. I'm going to use this time to renovate the property, etc. You build it into your numbers, right? At the end of the day, you build it into the numbers. And yeah, sometimes the young professional type properties, they still sell for a discount too. There's just no one searching in November, December. Like parents aren't coming down from Toronto and buying. People just don't want to move in December. It's icy, it's cold. When things are negative 25 outside, I guarantee you when I was going to showings, all the other showings are being canceled. And I would go out there when the snow is like this, and I'll get to the property, we'll get looking at it. You guys know I'm getting my real estate license too. I'm taking the exams. In the next month or so, I'll be an agent. So then I'll just be funneling my own deals. And the key piece being that hunt when no one else is hunting. Like you don't want to be hunting when 100 other people are hunting the same boar. You want to go hunt that boar. When no one else is there. And yes, there are less boars running around in December, less listings on the market. Things are sitting longer, but you're not competing at the same aggressive, buyers. So you don't have to pay as much. Like in a bidding, or if you win, like if your property wins in a multiple offer situation, your deal you get the deal. Often that's a bad thing. Like agents are so happy that they got the deal, they get the commission, they tell their buyer, yeah, we got it. It's like all those people in the spring market here in London, there were like 10 offers on properties and people were winning. Like I was offering too, but I was never getting the listings. All those listings that were going like 6 offers, there were like 2 that we got. And one we went $1 over asking, and this property was listed so poorly that we got the deal. All the other buyers got scared off. So it was just like a fluke. So don't, just because there's 10 offers on properties doesn't mean you can't offer. You just offer on 10 and probably get like 1 or none. And that's okay. Like if you get that 1, it's still a sweet deal. You don't want to be winning every time. If you're winning, you're getting the listing and you're paying the most of the other buyers. That's a bad thing. It means you're overpaying for the properties. You don't want that. The agents want that. The seller wants that. You don't want that as the buyer. Hey Don, how you doing? Don Trin, good to see you. Yeah, I probably have a fan in here somewhere, up in the loft or something. I could run up and grab it, but then it's gonna screw with the sound probably. Okay, so yeah, we answered that question, Tommy. Hopefully that satisfied your question. What do you think of price matching at Home Depot and getting the 10% off? Jason, what I find is that I used to try to do that because Lowe's also price matches and gives 10% off. But what I was finding is that they always have slight differences in the products that they sell. So like the shower faucet and like the vanity that's at Lowe's, they won't match it. And lumber now, like they won't match lumber anymore. A lot of this customer service reps say, oh no, that's a different brand of lumber. Lumber, drywall, that's a different brand. And so like I was getting a lot of that pushback. And so I just don't. I still do price match, don't get me wrong. Flip is like my best friend. I'm out there planning my material runs beforehand. I'm looking for a vanity and a toilet. I'll pick one up for 99 bucks, and a vanity I got for 89 bucks. New vanity, put it in. Had the contractor 15% off discount because I have contractor cards. I have accounts receivables at Lowe's and Rona and everywhere. But I find the best deals on so for instance, like the best deal on kitchen cabinets is still Rona when they have their sales, and I get my 20% off on top of that, my contractor discount. I'll match all those things together and I get the best deal. And they do free delivery over $1,800 order. So I get free delivered cabinets right to the site. So my cabinets I get from Rona, my favorite. Countertops now are IKEA. Flooring is still Rona's better. Lowe's sometimes has deals. Home Depot is always the worst for flooring. Lumber's a little bit more at Home Depot. They won't price match it. It's weird. Like I've been trying to price match. Sometimes they'll price match drywall because it's the same. But often like a shower faucet. They'll say, oh, that's a Glacier Bay. That's a Lowe's model. We won't price match that. And it's like you're not going to price match a faucet. So a lot of that stuff won't. Jared just popped a question up. To help with the phone call during a live stream, I would just buy a new iPhone for all your streams. Yeah, you know what? I tell you what. If we get enough, what do you call it? Super chats coming in over time. If people are throwing up super chats and they want me to answer their question, they shoot me $5 in a super chat. I'll take all that money and I'll throw it towards a new iPhone. I've been investing in the new camera. We got a lot of, we're investing in the equipment. We are doing that. I need to get a business phone too. I've been thinking about that too, just to have a second phone for like YouTube and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a good idea. I'll keep that in mind. Keep it in these questions up here because it's getting like, you guys can see I'm sweating like a pig in here. I get that fan running. I should open some windows some more. Okay, Michael, is a great question about the purchase plus improvements. Flight mode. Yeah, I don't know if flight mode would work. Yeah, you might be right. Harks Creative had a good point. It might turn on flight mode, and I wonder if Wi-Fi would still probably work. So that wouldn't be too bad. Talking about getting a cheaper reno. Yeah, so we can do a whole video on how to get cheap reno materials. Max, that's good. Daryl, no problem. Jason, we're talking about the unit. Yeah, $1,200 a month in rent. How much is hydro at your rental property? So Armin, I promised you an answer on this. And guys, if I missed your question up above, because I'm just scrolling on my phone here, let me know. Put it back in the comments here, and I will get to it, guaranteed. As we grow and get bigger, we have 28, 29 people. Why haven't you guys hit that like button? We have all these people on the stream right now. Eventually we'll get to a point where maybe we have a couple hundred people on the stream, and there'll have to be some super chats for like a penny to get the questions seen first. And that's the goal, is we get so big that I do that. And then I get the shoot, what's the name of that Pantheon? We get that set up, and then we do some private stuff. I want to show you guys some really cool videos of like when I'm working on electrical, or when I'm working on like a certain, like I have an electrician working on a job. I want to do like little videos like that, stuff that wouldn't appeal to the main audience on YouTube, but stuff that I think that would be really niche and cool for, yeah, good point, Max. It is Patreon. So on Patreon, I like to show on like little videos. Like when I'm renovating, I was doing that 24-hour push. I took some videos of doing cool stuff, and I put some of that on Instagram, but I'd like to put a lot of that on Patreon, where I'm just like, hey guys, like this is what I'm doing right now at the property. Like I'm crawling in the attic. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm doing. Those little tips that wouldn't appeal, I don't think, to the greater audience because they're so niche. But I think that some of my real estate followers would love that stuff. Yeah, we are working on it. We're gonna get that going. We're gonna do it. It's gonna be real. So that'll be cool. Some cool content there. On Friday, we're gonna drop a really cool video on the $100,000 flip project. You guys remember the before, where it's like really rough and to the concrete and the studs and the wires hanging out, and now it's finished and it's beautiful. It's a 5+1 with monster rooms. Just an awesome property. We're gonna at least make $100,000 after renovation on this property in a number of months. Like these are deals I'm closing on like now. We're not talking like deals I bought last year. I'm talking deals I bought in the heat of the spring market, right? When everyone's getting crushed and paying the highest they've ever paid, I'm locking up deals, right? So, Don, sounds good. I appreciate it. You guys are the loyal ones, right? Like the 28 people that are on here right now, you guys are the loyal followers, and all those guys catching the replay. We're 62 minutes and 18 seconds in. Let me know in the comments if you got value from this, if you enjoyed it. If you have a question, shoot it in the comments. Happy to answer that question. I love the Wise Wealth Wednesdays. This is episode 15. We're gonna go back and we're gonna label the numbers in the bottom there, in the bottom of each and every description. I think I'm gonna like list the episodes so you guys can watch episode 1 through 15. We have over 30 hours of live stream Q&A. There was a ton of value in that. I would love for someone, if they're just getting started in real estate, you just found my channel now. Maybe you were clicking on Graham Stephan, or maybe you're on Meet Kevin's channel and you just finding me, right? Or maybe you found me on the internet. You're looking and you're like, you know what, I'm from like Chatham, or I'm from some random town in Sudbury. I'm doing real estate too, and you find me doing this and you want to learn more, go back and check those out, because I have a whole playlist on Wise Wealth Wednesday. I do every single Wednesday. There's a ton of valuable stuff there in those streams. People ask great questions that suss out the really, really good info and the really good key stuff there. So Rick Lumen, how you doing? Mike, what do you think of senior rentals? I have some in Strathroy and in Forest, Ontario. I've got a cottage not so far from Forest, about 15 minutes from Forest, right there on the water. So I'm familiar with Forest. I grew up not too far from Forest, actually, as a kid. I moved around a lot as a kid, but I lived for a little while in that area. Was just wanting your opinion on these rising developments for senior rentals. So I actually have a property that I did a little bit of this. It wasn't a licensed senior place, and I have looked at some licensed sort of rooming house senior places where you supply a nurse that works like 40 hours a week and takes care of the residents and cooked meals and stuff. There's some solid. So the demographics, if you look at some of the data, the demographics for the baby boomer generation are such that there's a lot of wealth in that age gap, and they're getting older and they need somewhere to live, and their kids can't support them and they need somewhere to stay. And my own grandparents, they're in their 70s, and one of my grandpa on the one side, he could use a senior home. I think he's at that point. And like there isn't a lot of availability for this. And we have, like, I know some landlords who are doing that in a small time in London, they'll have a 6-bedroom house, and they'll actually go and cook meals. They'll have someone they hire that cooks like dinner for all of the seniors, and they're getting like $900 a bedroom because they provide a meal once a day. So some small thing like that, that's what you can get into with the senior living, where maybe you send a cleaner in every Friday. And by the way, guys, I got like an army of cleaners that work for $15 an hour, and I send them over to like our Airbnb properties and we're building the infrastructure. So I don't want to give it away too much, but I am actually looking into, and we've been actively exploring the opportunity to build something for seniors or to buy something and convert it to support that demographic. Because yes, there's a huge hunger and a huge need for it. I've been talking to some guys who build like the semi-row housing, all one floor, really cool with in-floor heating, that designed for the seniors. So seniors a great market. Yeah, really lucrative market. They get guaranteed checks every month, better than students. Students have their parents that guarantee them on their leases, but seniors are a great market. It's in London specifically, there aren't a lot of people tapping that market. And I rented to some 75-year-olds in I had a rooming house and I had to rent out rooms, and I didn't cook meals or clean for them, but I saw them struggling just to care for themselves. And most of them had the money to pay a little bit more to have that service. And so basically it's like Airbnb. You can get double the market rent for a senior, especially if you're providing that meal and that cleaning. You can also do this in rooming houses. Like I offered this service too, actually. What I would do is charge them each person $10 a week in the house. Say it's a 5-bedroom. I'll offer each person $10 a week, and I'll pay the cleaner $5. So I'll pay them, say, $25 a week, and the cleaner will go in for 2 hours and clean for $25. And the tenants are paying me $50. So I'm making $25. All I have to do is dispatch a cleaner to go once a week and clean the house. It does 2 things. 1, it ensures the tenant's happy because they don't have to clean. But 2, the cleaner lets me know if anything is breaking or if anything's wrong with the house. And keeping things clean preserves them, lets them last longer, right? If there's dirt on the floor, if people are walking, the dirt grains into the floor and scratches the laminates, the vinyl. Things don't last as long if you don't clean them. So it's a great win-win situation. The students love it when I set up a cleaner. And they're often like $5 a week for a cleaner. That's so cool. I'm down, right? And if you got like a group of 6 in a house, then that's $30 right there every single week. I send them in for an hour, cost me $15 to send my cleaner in. I'll line him up for 8 houses on a Friday and he'll do them all. So that's an example of, yeah, I mean, there are so many different angles in real estate that you can exploit, so many different pieces of the business that you can kind of tap into. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the senior angle. And a lot of people are talking about senior citizens and the angle there that exists there's a really big housing shortage for good quality senior homes. Like a lot of places that aren't like all one level, right? Because seniors can't do stairs. They're just, yeah, so there's a whole bunch of pieces to that. You could put, in a house that has 2 stairs, you just put the lift chair in. It's like $2,000 for a lift chair you put on the stairwell. Totally, there are ways to outfit a house to do this, and I am looking into it. I want to do a video on one that I've been looking at doing. I have had some hassles though too, like the kids it's like the parents of the students, but the kids of the seniors, they'll tend to be very like, the 35-year-old kids are very worried about their parents, and they'll be calling you about things, and et cetera, et cetera. So you have to be very careful that it's more energy, more maintenance. It's like Airbnb. Like seniors, students, and Airbnb, you get like double the market. You can get up to double the market rents with these sorts of strategies, but they require more energy and more time. It's more of an active business. Not to say it isn't a bad strategy, it just is a different strategy. It's less passive, more active, but you get a much higher return from your property. So yeah, I guess that's sort of my thoughts on that. Okay, let's hit some more questions. I think I missed some. Michael Chung, it's crazy expensive. I think Airbnb will do good in Toronto. It does good in London too, actually, guys. It does even good in cottage country as well. Interestingly, I have people message me that want to rent for like a 3-month period for their company. Getting a lot of that with the cottage rental that I have sort of near Grand Bend there. How are you able to evaluate properties in your area you aren't familiar with? So Nick Leather, good question. You have to become familiar with your area. And so that, I would say before you buy your first property, look at 100 properties. Evaluate 100 properties. Go see like 50 at least. That's the place to start. I probably looked at like dozens of properties before I bought my first one. I saw a question pop up earlier. I think it was Michael Chung said, what was my first property? My first property when I was 19 years old was a single family house that I turned into a little nanny suite. So I put like a little kitchenette in the basement. I put in a full washroom in the basement, and I put in like a bedroom and all that, and put an egress windows in, and it has a separate entrance off the side. They still shared upstairs like a little bit of my space, but it was sort of like its own unit. It was a single family house that I converted. It was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house that I converted into a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house. So we added in, like, on the second story in a walk-in closet, we literally dropped the plumbing stack all the way down. It was a really cool renovation. I learned, that was my first time doing renovation when I was 19, and I worked with the guys and learned how to do all of that. And so that was a cool experience, learning all of that and doing all of that. So that's through experimentation is the best way to learn. And I think starting small is great. Yeah, it's a great way. Sorry, some messages just came in on my phone. It's a great way to, it's a gateway into real estate. It's something comfortable. You can live in the property, and if everything else fails, you could house hack and live for free. So even if you didn't buy smart, which I didn't on my first property, I didn't know how to buy real estate. I honestly, like, I let the agent double on the deal. So she was working for the seller and she represented me too. She had the listing. So I mean, I kind of got a better deal. I paid 208,000 for my first house, and I probably should have paid like 195 probably for it. So I paid about 13,000 higher than I should have, but the kitchen was already done nice. We could move in right away. The closing date worked out perfectly before I was going back to university there. We were in the middle of the summer, and it worked out. The closing date was nice. I loved the area. It was the only house in the area that was perfect. Like, we could get to the college on one bus, get to the university at one bus. And I was really bullish on this area. It's a shame that I sold the property in 2014 when I did, because if I had kept it today, I'd have another $80,000 or so in value. It's a shame that I sold the property, but I did sell it and buy 2 more. So I sold it and bought 2 more. Here in Canada, your primary residence is tax-free. And so I sold my primary residence tax-free and took that capital and bought 2 more. So I went from 1 to 2 doing that. And then I saved the capital to buy the third just from working my day job. And I saved the down payment for my first property just from working really hard. Some scholarships, good summer jobs, good part-time jobs through university. I just work really hard. And I believe if you're working $100 an hour, even if you're making minimum wage in Ontario, 100 hours a week, sorry, I said $100 an hour, 100 hours a week at $15 an hour is $1,500 a week. A week. If you're working 100 hours a week, guys, you go out there and hustle, work really hard, you'll make $7,000 a month. Like, even if you have no skills, if you just work really hard, you can build wealth, right? If you learn how to save. So that's a starting point. Then ideally you get your hourly wage up and you build that wealth that way, right? So anyway, let's go up and hit some more questions. I'm seeing some Tiger, seeing you jump on, some of the regulars popping on here. Go inside here, my daughter's bath time very, very soon here. So Armin, I promised you how much hydro was at certain properties. I had one property that was this massive there's 2 11 bedrooms beside each other, 2 triplexes, 11 bedroom property. My hydro was probably $400 a month for that one property. Again, had a lot of people in the property, like 11 or 12 people in that property. So that's the high end for what I've seen for hydro. It had forced air gas for the heating. If you had baseboard heating, it could be even higher, like electric baseboard heating is the highest hydro bills I've ever seen. The lowest, like some of my best tenants, a unit is like 30 or 40 bucks in hydro for like a 2 or 3 bedroom unit in a triplex. So it varies, like, 40, 50 bucks is on the low end. For hydro, it can be a little bit more on the high end. What's the average price you purchase each of your properties at? So Nick, good question. It just varies. It really does. Picking up houses, we picked up one for 125 grand. They're renting for $16.95 a month. Single, detached, 2-story house, 125 grand in East London. I've also picked up we just bought one with one of the investors. It's a joint venture property for $458,000. And it was an 11 bedroom, 3-story red brick, beautiful property downtown, legal duplex, really nice property. So that's an example of one that on the higher end. So, $500,000 to $125,000 in that range is sort of the farm area. At that $458,000 purchase price, we're expecting $5,000 a month in rent minimum. That's not Airbnb. That's just market rent. If you're Airbnbing it, you should. In London, I should expect $10,000 a month in rent on a $500,000 property. That's the sort of cash flow I like to look for. There are a lot of. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of properties in London that are $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 downtown that rent for like $3,000 a month, and people buy these properties. I don't understand it. And I'm buying properties like down the street, the cash flow way better. So there are a ton of bad properties in London. Like 8 out of 10 listings are bad. And so 8 out of 10 properties that are peddled as investment properties sold by agents aren't ones I would buy, aren't good cash flow strong properties. So they don't fit my model. But I mean, people are still buying them. They're making some money. Not as much as they could, but they're making some. So, teach their own. Okay, let's go down, catch up these questions. How do you save up initial capital? You just save. You work really hard and you save. And then once you have, so I did a video on this, guys, a little bit ago with Mr. My Mustache on one side and Warren Buffett on the other. And you guys saw that video. If you haven't, check that video out. Really cool video talking about masterful saving versus masterful investing. The best investor in the world versus the best saver in the world. The best saver in the world on average will outperform the best investor who isn't a saver, right? What you'll find is that in the beginning of your journey, your saving rate is way more important. Like what you're earning, what you're spending, and that gap is way more important than your return on investment. If you have $1,000 or $10,000 saved and you make 1,000% return, it's not near as impactful as making 1,000% return when you have $1 million saved, right? So once you've built up the wealth, being frugal doesn't matter as much. Like at my stage in the game, it's easy for me to make $10,000 like that. So why am I gonna stand in line to save $2 on a burger, right? I mean, I still do a lot of that because I'm just frugal. It's who I am. It's the nature of the kind of person that I am. But what you'll find is that the impact on your net worth, on growing your actual wealth, is such that in the beginning, masterful saving so important. Like what you invest in is not important in the beginning. If you're just starting, you have zero net worth, what you invest in doesn't matter. What matters is that you're saving, that you're working, earning money, and then saving most of that. Then as you build wealth, then you look at the third lever, right? You have 3 levers in your control to build wealth. Spend less, earn more, and the maximize returns. The maximizing returns becomes very important later on. Once you have some capital saved up, then if you can double $100,000 to 200 or 250, like my stage in the game, if you can double a couple million and a couple million more, that's way more impactful than me trying to save a couple $1,000s here or there on small stuff. Like I shouldn't even care about, spending like $500 on some miscellaneous purchase. I shouldn't. But it goes against who I am because I trained myself for the last 8 years that frugality was the most important piece, because it was. To get from where I was to where I am now, frugality was what got me there. To get me from where I am now to where I want to be, return on investment is most important. What I'm investing in, how I'm managing my wealth and my portfolio, that's way more important. And so that's sort of the evolution. A lot of people don't want to look at saving at all. They want to look at like investments like Bitcoin. How do I make the most money I can possibly make now? Well, probably start saving, because every dollar you save now is like $20 in 30 years or 40 years. So if you save $100,000 now when you're 20 or when you're 30, when you're 60, it's going to be like saving $1 million. And it's a lot harder to save $1 million later on than it is to save 100 now. I'm telling you, it's easier to save now. Every dollar you save now is worth 10 later. So save now. Then once you built the wealth, then let's have the conversation about how you invest that. If you've got a couple $100,000 already, you've been saving, now we need to have a conversation about what do you invest in, right? That's not to say you can't use real estate if you don't have any wealth, because you can use real estate to generate income, right? We're talking about the 3 levers. Earning more. A lot of what I talk about is how do you earn more money. Some people are capped at like 30 or 40 grand. That's the most they can make. You want to earn more money, let's talk about strategies like wholesaling, where you can learn to build wealth, right? To earn more. And if you keep your spending level static, like you learn to find strategies to get your spending way down, and you learn strategies to earn more. Maybe part of that's through return on investment. That's when you start building that nest egg and that wealth. So that's what it's all about. The 3 levers. That's it. Those 3 things. That's all you can play with. That's how you build wealth. That's the wealth formula. That's all it is, right? Like what you earn minus what you spend equals your change, your delta net worth, your change in your net worth. And that's it. The more net worth you have, the more you earn. And so then it grows and it gets quicker and faster, and it's actually exponential in the fact that as you save in the beginning to get the thing started, once it's parabolic in nature, once it gets exponential and starts to curve upwards on the upward curve, like where I'm starting to get to that upward curve, what I'm spending doesn't matter as much as, within reason. Like if I start spending all of what I'm earning, I'm not going to grow. And so I can't just start spending like 150, 200 grand a year, 300 grand a year and just live this lavish, Lamborghini lifestyle. I could do that, but I would build no net worth. I'd build no wealth. It'd be a very risky strategy. Could do it. It's a lifestyle strategy. People do it, but it's not one that I'd recommend. Okay, getting really, let's hit these questions. People speculate on price appreciation in those markets. That's true, Kurt. And so as a cash flow investor, like we're cash flow investors, you and I hope you are. I want you to be. I want all my followers to be cash flow investors. We're investing for that rental income. We're investing for that income from Airbnb, whatever it is, that income. That's something you can guarantee, you can bet on. You can't bet on speculation. You're competing against all those investors who are speculators, and speculators don't invest in the same fundamental metrics you do. You're investing on cash flow now. They're investing on growth, on what it could be in the future. I don't ever want to bet or bank on what could be in the future. I'd always want to bank on what is now, right? What I can do right now. What is the property worth today? If it's worth 100,000 today, I want to pay 70 for it today. I don't want to pay 100 for it. Like a lot of these speculators are paying 100 for it now because they think it's going to be worth 200 later. And it might. Like a lot of these speculators were right and they made a ton of money. And good for them, they did. But guess what? It could have went the other way too. It could have not appreciated, right? And the market could have not have been as hot. We could have been in a flat market or a declining market, which is coming. Like that is coming in the next 36 months. I will bet money on it that we're going to have a contraction. I don't know which markets are going to be affected. I don't know how much. I don't think it's going to be major, but I think there's going to be an effect. And I think it's going to be a bit of a contraction in this market. But the rental income will be strong. It will be solid. People need places to rent more than ever in times of recession. They can't afford to buy. They have to rent. And so if you're buying for cash flow first and arbitrage second and speculation third, I mean, you want to get all three. Line them all up, right? Why not go for a full strike? I'm talking bowling terms. But you know, I mean, I don't want to bank on that. I want to bank on cash flow. I don't want to be losing money every month. I want to be making money every month. I want to be $1,000 cash flow positive. So if something happens, I've got that insulation there. If I have to hold a property for 10 years, I can. And I got my down payment back in 3. Even if the market's crashing, I'm going to hold my properties because they service the debt. They cash flow strong. It's a good real estate investing strategy. The reason I like real estate so much more than my stock portfolio is companies like that S&S stock I told you about. I have no control over the management. I have no control over the operations. I have control over my real estate properties. I can buy properties and I can control the outcome. And I have a better, I like to believe that I have some, well now I do because I've been doing it for 8 years. I have an expertise that most people don't have in the market. And I have an angle and a strategy most people don't have in the market. So I'm betting on myself now. So that's the advantage of real estate is you can mitigate your risk by buying smart and following a good formula, good strategy. Okay, next question. It's crazy expensive. Yeah, Airbnb does work. I've seen that happen. Then you get into trouble if you get into a bear market. Exactly right, what I was just talking about. Okay. Don, how you doing? I'm good. I'm sick. So I got the sinus headache. Check the replay out if you missed some of the other footage. We're gonna wrap this up in about 5 or 10 minutes here. I'm gonna finish some more questions off. Jared, good call. Hey man, I'm trying to set up a lease for student rentals. I wanted to do all the students on one lease to avoid rooming house problems. Do you know a way I can present this to students and parents? I always do all my leases on one. I never do individual leases. You get into rooming house situations, and rooming houses have really high commercial property tax rates on the property. So you want to stay away from that. The city will fine the hell out of you if you run an illegal rooming house or boarding house. So you got to get the licensing set up. But if you run it all on one lease, one group, I do all groups because then I don't have to worry about people leaving. If one pieces from the lease, I'm like, hey, you guys are responsible for this lease. You find the roommate that's going to work with you guys. I'm not going to place someone into your house that you have to live with. You deal with that. It's easier for me. It's better for me. No vacancies. Don't do by the bedroom. Just avoid it. Put a good group in there. I always get a group together to sign it. Yeah. Yeah, so the way you present that is you tell them it's a group. Even if you have to put the group together, they have to sign one lease. Tell them it's the law. You don't have a boarding house license. You can't do by the bedroom, and you don't want to. Guys, if I was doing by the bedroom, we have well over 100 bedrooms. I have well over 100 people living in my properties. If I had to collect 100 e-transfers, Jesus, oh my God, each one, they do a new password each month. They're like, it's the address with 1-2 at the end. It's the address with my name attached. Like the weirdest stuff I get, these weirdest passwords. One transfer from the unit. You got 5 people in this house. You get it together and you send me one transfer for $2,500. I don't want $500 a bedroom. I don't want to deal with that. Like it's priced at $500 a bedroom, get the same rent, but I want one collection. By the bedroom sucks. Stay away from it, guys. A lot of guys do that, buy the bedroom stuff. I just avoid it. I get a group lease in there. It's way easier. Could you imagine if I had to collect 100 e-transfers? That's like, we're getting there. Like as we keep growing with 100 properties, we're gonna have like 200 e-transfers coming in because everyone's a duplex and we're gonna have 2 units at least. But if I had like 4 bedrooms in each unit, can you imagine having like 300-400 e-transfers? You would need someone full time just to be collecting rents and getting on people. Yeah. That's my tangent for that. Dude, I love that video. I wouldn't miss one. Don, thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, so Don, we answered that question for you. Thanks for answering my question. Another one, how is your joint venture with partners structured? Say if someone has some capital and a good job for applying for a mortgage. So Kurt, we could chat about that offline. I want to do a video on my joint venture structure that we use. We have 2 models that we use. One is we have 2 contracts we use, and then we also have a joint venture partnership contract. And so typically what happens is if you check out my 2 videos I did on joint venture partnership, I talk about a little bit of how a joint venture is structured and where the value components come together. So the deal is worth about a third of the value. It depends. Like the deal is worth between 0 and 35%, I think, of the value, or 0 to 40% of the value of the deal. Every deal is different. If it's a really bad deal, it's worth 0, in which case I should take nothing. If it's a really bad deal, if I'm giving you a crap deal, but I'm always bringing investors good deals, so I'm taking value from that. I don't ever get a dollar until the investor gets all of their capital back, including renovations, closing costs, everything they put out. So their money is guaranteed first. If there's money left over, we do a split structure between 25 and 50% of upside. So I don't have any ownership, but of upside profit, I will take a percentage between 25 and 50% of upside. So if I buy a property for 150, it's worth 300 after. We renovate it for 20, they're in it for 170. I ensure that 130,000, that's where I get my upside. If we sell it for exactly what we were invested into it, I've basically done all the renovation work, all of that effort for nothing, for free for you guys. I'm so confident in that isn't going to be the case that's why I have my contract worth 0 if there's no upside. So that's sort of how I joint venture. But yeah, on the cash flow side, we also take a similar split, or we have the option of just doing a management fee, and we'll set up a property management contract and we'll just bill you and we'll manage the property that way. So 2 ways. I won't manage properties. I don't like to manage properties for people that don't own the property. So when I joint venture, I'm the active partner. I make all the decisions, and you have to trust that I'm going to make the right decisions. And so those are the only properties that I want to manage. I don't want to manage properties for people who I don't own any of the property. I have no upside in the property. There's no incentive for me, right? Like I want to be able to manage the property so that it appreciates in value. I put good tenants in there. I don't want to just be a manager for fee. It's just, I have no interest in a job, but I have interest in building a business and so in acquiring properties. So I believe in active partnership, and I bring a lot to the table. The investor tends to bring the mortgage and the down payment to the table, and we get them refied out and their capital back as quickly as possible. So then we both own this property with no money in it. That's the idea, right? Yeah. So at a high level, check out those 2 videos, Kurt, on joint venture structure. I did a video on that. Pretty cool videos talking about where the value comes into play. Thanks, Don. Really appreciate that. Thank you. This is so cool. I got my first super chat today too, on episode 15 too of Wise Wealth Wednesday. It's our 15th show, guys. And yes, we build 1 floor, in-floor heating with garages. Rick, very cool. Rick, I feel like we might have met before somewhere. You maybe went out to one of Sean Allen's events or something. I feel like we've connected somewhere in the world. You're close enough in my network that we probably have connected. Very cool. Very cool. Big fan of what some of the guys I know in the market are doing in that space. Mr. Beefy 971, how you doing? Where would you go to look up potential tenants' credit score? So there are some free services you can use. I get all my tenants to sign up for Credit Karma. Here in Canada, it's free to do, and it doesn't hurt their credit at all. They can sign up on the app. I have it myself, and I monitor my credit. There's no hit to your credit at all. I get them to go on to Credit Karma, and I get them to show me their credit score. It's completely free, and I ask them to volunteer it. The best tenants will always offer to volunteer it. If they don't want to volunteer that, it's often a red flag. So I make them send me bank statements. I'm like, what do you have in cash? Like right now, what do you have in savings? Can I see 60 days of banking? Can I see pay stubs going in? Hard to fake that. A lot of people make up job letters and stuff. Professional, serial, evil tenants will do that. But looking at a bank statement, if they don't want to offer that up, I tell them to black out their account information. I don't want to see any of that. I don't want to have that liability myself, but just show me some transactions, right? Just show me your credit score, that kind of stuff. Good tenants will offer that up, no problem, all day long. So just ask. It's free for the tenant to pull it, costs you nothing. creditkarma.ca or .com. Come in late, I'll watch the replay. What's up, guys? Tiger Rocks, how you doing? Looking at selling a new car my girlfriend bought. She has 18K left on the loan. We'll get 13 or 14K if she sold it today. Yes, this is the problem with buying new cars. I bought my Ford Focus out there for $2,500. I guarantee you in a year from now, I'm going to sell it for exactly or more. I'm probably not going to sell it. I'm going to keep it for a long time. It's also gold, which is super sweet. Check it out on Instagram if you want to see pictures of the car. It's my gold mobile. People drive up, they're like, oh, it's cool. It's like a gold bar. I'm like, yeah, man, $2,500. It looks like a $10,000 car, and it runs super efficiently on gas. But yeah, anyway, so getting to your question, monthly payments $318, and would buy another car for around $9K all in. Great idea, Mr. Beefy. Sell the car. Cars are liabilities. You want, it's a tool. Like, I think you need a car as a real estate investor. You need a car. It's very hard to renovate properties or to get to properties across town, get materials without a vehicle. I get 8-foot 2x4s. I get 12-foot pieces of trim in my car. I put my trunk down and I have it go out the window through the side of the car all the way through the trunk. I can move almost anything. I put dryers in the back seats. I put my seats forward. I throw a stove or dryer in the back back of my Ford Focus. I'm going to put a hitch on it and put a trailer on the back, like a light aluminum trailer. I can haul anything with a Ford Focus, a $2,500 car. It looks great, runs great, cheap on gas. Honestly, like other than in the trailer, you could haul drywall. So, I mean, you could do it without the fancy car. A lot of people have these fancy cars. I'm not a big fan of the car. It's a liability. Get a fancy house. Okay. House hack it. Like you can buy a $500,000 house, a nice house in London, like a 3,300 square foot house like I'm doing, and find a way to house hack that. That's cool. You can do that. You can justify that. Houses appreciate. Like there's something there. Cars depreciate, create no cash flow. You need to have a car. I get it. You know, we need to do that to generate. It's a tool. It's required to get us from A to B to make money in our businesses. We need the car. I get it. Find a most effective way to do that. Okay, cool. I gotta get some bath time and I don't want to miss saying goodnight to her. Michael Trump, man, enjoy the tangents. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Jared, yes, it is my nature. I took in frugality more recent years. I still judge myself for making some decisions. Don, you know what? You have to. I do too. Sometimes I'll spend like an extra $50 on something and I'll feel bad, but you know, at the end of the day, you gotta do it. Brandon Carney, have you attempted Airbnb? Oh yeah, I've done a lot of Airbnb-ing. Had some success. I'll do a video on some of my strategies with that. Check the replay out, Brandon. You've got a really cool discussion about that. Did a super chat just come up? Michael Chung, $10. Woo! That is so cool. I'm such a frugal guy that like, I know $10 means nothing. Like as a millionaire, I shouldn't care about $10, but it means so much when you guys send that. Like for you guys to send me your time to stay on here, for the 30 people who have been on here for 90 minutes and like to send me $10, that's just so cool. I reinvest everything that I make in this channel. All of it goes reinvested back to you guys for better equipment, you know, better quality editing, all of this kind of stuff, just better stuff so I can give better content back to you guys. This is my mission in life, to give back. And this is how I feel like I'm having an impact. And I do it kind of for free. So it's cool. That's really cool. Love that. Thank you so much for that. Mike, what are your thoughts on weed stocks? On the one hand, their valuations are insane, but a lot of companies are looking to buy and get their piece of the pie. I think the weed stocks, Nicholas, have, their time has gone. A lot of my friends made a lot of money with some of the weed stocks. I mean, there's still more probably to go as it kind of becomes more mainstream. But yeah, I'm not going to speculate on my thoughts on weed stocks right now. Yeah, I don't know. I think that we've seen a lot of growth. I don't know what's going to happen. Got it, thanks. One lease is the way to go. That's right, it is. Sounds like a good problem to have. Jared, that's right. What do you do when your tenants are paying rent late? You send them an N4 and you take them to the tribunal. I would Photoshop my bank statements at factory to trick you. Oh, you know what? Yeah. I mean, one thing I have done, it's been really effective, is out of showing, I'll say log into your bank account and show me. And often, like when I meet with them to sign a lease, I'll say, can you log into your bank just to confirm? And a lot of them will log in on their phone and show me their Credit Karma. The good tenants will do that, right? And so the ones who have Photoshop stuff, I mean, do I even want to rent to those tenants? No. So then they would fail this test. So there are little tests you can do. You can sniff out pretty easy. App Factory, you're a savage, man. Jared says, you savage. That's right, you're savage. Don't do that. Don't do that. WTS 06 STI, only 100 km. Yeah, your car is sick, Jason. It's a juicy car. It is nice. It's nice to drive in. You got a little luxuries in life too. You know what? If the car is the one thing you need, justify it somehow. So maybe you got to go out and buy another rental property to cover the cost of that car. Okay. You know what? As long as you can justify it. Anyway, we're through all the questions, guys. Michael Chung, thank you so much for that $10. That was so sweet. I love the super chat. This is like the coolest new function. I love it. 93 minutes, guys. Stayed longer than I wanted to. Got to say goodnight to my daughter. When we drop another video Friday, check this out, guys. You're going to really enjoy this one. The one I'm dropping on Friday is a before and after video of a project that we gutted, making 100 grand in a few short months. Just one of many that we're renovating. I got more I want to show, more videos I want to drop to show that it's real, that in London, Ontario, I'm buying properties and we're making well over $100,000 on these properties. We're buying them for like $220, $230, and we're selling them for like $390, right? There's huge margin. We're spending $30, $40, $50,000 renovating them. There's just so much margin here. So let the fire burn, guys. Hopefully you guys can work towards that. The article's coming out too, which is going to blow the channel up. I think Graham's going to be dropping a video too that we did together a few months ago. So, oh, cool. Thanks. Hark's Creative is amazing. Kyle, you're awesome. You're a blessing. He's awesome. Check him out too. Okay, so as always, guys, spend less, earn more, and maximize returns to unlock a wealthier you. Have a good Wednesday night, guys. Cheers. Stay hungry. Message me if you want to do the Vegas thing.